In today's video, we are going to be breaking down the top 5 most underrated moves in the NBA. These are easy moves that you can add to your game as well. So let's get down and let's check these out. Okay, so first it is creating the angle to be able to create essentially a lane for yourself to the basket. You can do this by getting your shoulder on the defensive player's side in front of the defensive player's shoulder. So in this case, the right shoulder, your right shoulder, gets in front of the left shoulder of your defender. This will allow you to cut that player off so that now he's essentially on your hip or behind your body, which then creates that lane to be able to throw down some nasty dunks. To get a faster first step, you need to also have the ability to do the negative or zero step, which basically means that you do a quick scissor and swivel your hips, as we see right here where he swivels his hips from pointing this way to then pointing towards his defender and in the direction as to where he wants to go. He then angles his body into the defender so that he creates that lane to the basket. You need to be aggressive in basketball. You need to have that roughly 45-ish angled towards your defender to be able to get your shoulder into his body, in front of his body, so that you can get by him. Next is splitting the screen. When you've got that hedge man coming out, you need to be able to split through them to be able to get to the basket. This is actually very easy to do. So here we see that the defender tries to reach in, it didn't work, and then the hedge man comes out just a bit too far and there's a lane right there for you to take. If that lane is there, make sure to do a crossover. You can do this through your legs or not, it doesn't necessarily matter, but do not do it behind your back because you will have a trailing player. And then of course you'll be able to have the lane to the basket. We can see this done multiple different ways as well. So here we have Jalen Green who's attacking that screener. His man gets stuck on that screen, and then we have a hedge man right here who is on his heels. When you've got a hedge man who's on his heels, you can squeeze through them in some cases and be able to throw down some massive dunks. You can even do this when you deny the screen. So for example, here we see Anthony Edwards able to split the screen and throw down a nasty dunk as well. And he's able to do this because Andrew Wiggins comes up too high and denies that screen. That basically means that he is disallowing Anthony Edwards to be able to use that screen. So by denying that screen and then that hedge man comes over a bit too high, normally some players may look to pass that ball to the cutting cat. However, instead we see a quick crossover. He has the angle. This defender, this hedge man, is standing almost pretty well straight up. And if you notice that players are guarding you standing straight up and your shoulders are already below theirs, you can easily get by them every single time. This next one is a fantastic move that Luka Doncic and many others use as well. It's a fake snatch back where you basically snatch back that ball and then attack back at that rim. And basically what you're doing here is when you're attacking, if you notice that this defender is crossing his feet multiple times, especially if it's his inside, in this case right leg, that crosses in front of his left, you need to snatch back quickly. If he's able to recover and he has an angle on his body, which means that his shoulders are well past his knees and toes, at that point he is off balance. If you are then to cross back towards the basket, you're going to have that open lane and you just have to take one dribble to get to that rim. So again, when you're attacking, you should be watching what that defender is doing. This defender's shoulders are still facing Luka Doncic, so he's technically still squared up with Luka, but his feet crossed right there. And if you see that as a player with the ball, snatch back, and then when he's keeping his head up, he's looking at what these other defenders are doing, but also what his man is doing too. And when he sees that his man is off balance coming back towards him, that is when you want to cross over and attack the basket. He's keeping his head up too because he's looking at, hey, these guys are all standing straight up and down. The only guy who's really playing me is this guy who's guarding me. If I attack the rim, nobody is going to be able to recover fast enough and I'm going to have an open lane, and that's exactly what happened. The most most underrated thing that I see is backdoor cuts. Not enough players do this, and you can get some easy baskets off of it. So if you are a point player and you notice that there's defenders who are way out here with a man wide open. This happens actually quite frequently, and if you can find players who are cutting backdoor, definitely hit them up. Now, this all happens because of what happened earlier on in this play. What happened earlier on was there was a double team in the low post. This definitely happens a lot in games, and when you've got the ball in the post or in the paint in general, and you kick that ball out, either you kick it out, swing, or whatever, that will then usually confuse defenses, whether it's a zone defense or not. They're all looking at that ball. And if you are the player in the corner, you need to be able to see the players who are directly involved in guarding you. And if they are not paying attention to what you are doing, you definitely need to cut backdoor, because that's going to be open the entire time. And definitely, this is something that a lot of players need to be able to do. Swing step is the last move we're going to talk about. There's so many different ways of doing the swing step, but it's a very aggressive and a very useful move. We can really see DeMar DeRozan as well as Zach LaVine and many others using this too, and so many great players end up using it. So basically what a swing step is you take your last dribble, and it's almost like a Euro step. However, there's a low gather, there's a high gather, and then there's a mid gather as well. And this first one is a low gather, and what you're trying to do is to keep that ball low enough so that taller players cannot reach down to get it, and then hope for the foul on your arms, keeping both hands on that ball. Very similar to a Euro step where you're taking your last two steps around that player. However, instead of it being a step here and a step here, you're generally taking one step to the side of your player and then the second step in line generally with the first. And this can get you a lot of baskets that you can make. You can do this off of a screen as well, where you can take a little bit of a hop towards the side that you were originally traveling or going towards. I shouldn't say traveling in basketball. Traveling is bad. But then after that hop, you can take 2 steps towards the basket. Again, this is going to be a mid gather, keeping that ball with 2 hands close to your abdomen and then getting to the rim. Now, this can be a little bit more riskier, keeping a mid gather, because if you get fouled when the ball is here, there's going to be a lot of referees that may say that you're out of control, or they just may not see a foul. And if you do a mid gather, make sure to stay in control, having that ball right against your body, because that means that you are in control of that ball, and it's a lot harder for referees not to call fouls on that. There's also the high gather, which of course is what I personally prefer, because if you can keep that ball up high, you're going to be showing to the referee that there's fouls. And that's the whole idea here, keeping that ball up high, getting, or at least trying to get that foul call on that defender so that you can get that basket and one. I hope that these 5 moves help you become a better basketball player. If they do, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.